Welcome back to Sober History. My name is Robert Renbal, and I'm here with Nick Mua. Yes, and we are going to review the Moser-Mokel family. We have 5 different entries from 5 different time periods, and today my friend here is going to be drinking some water and hope to know more about this family.
So the year was September 28th, 1905, and a 10-year-old Leonardo Moser-Mokel was sitting on a park bench, and his friend approached him and asked, "Yo, dude, I think that you should join the army." Now, what he said to his friend was, "I'm way too young to join the army. I'm only 10. But what he was thinking in his head was, "Yeah, maybe I should join the army."
Now, I wonder if he feels a mama's boy. You know, his mama came up to him and was all like, "Oh, you can't join the army. You are too young."
Yeah, that's good.
Yep, I hope so.
So, flash forward 11 years to 1916. Italy just joined the army. And now Leonardo's sitting in the trenches watching everybody die around him. And there's his brother getting shot right next to him.
Ah, my leg, my heart, I got shots. I'm no longer gonna live. Please help. Brother, save me. Brother Leonardo, take care of my son. I don't know about my son, actually.
No, he knows about it.
He knows about his son? Take care of my son. He may not be born yet, but he will be. So take care of it.
So after the war, Leonardo, he decides, hey, I'm going to take him up on that offer. I'm going to have to take care of this man's son and wife. So they hop on a boat to New York just a few years after the war starts.
Because they wanted to go to America, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was filled with what? Guilt?
Yeah. Because he just let his brother die in the war. Which, isn't very good. Okay, so they're about halfway through their voyage now to America, and his wife gets sick.
Please, spare my son. He has so much to live for. Take him before I perish.
I'm sorry. Oh, Maria, I will fulfill your dying wish and take care of your son until the end of my days.
That's a long time.
So the year is 1926, and Leonardo has finally made it to America. He gets off the boat and takes a nice fresh breath of American freedom air.
Oh, wow, you okay there, bud?
Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry. So, he takes a nice fresh breath of American freedom air and exclaims, at last, I finally made it to the promised land. Time to become a stockbroker. But instead, he becomes a janitor at the Trade Center. So now, Leonardo, feeling kind of bad about his brother's death, decides that he should buy his adopted son, John, a fiddle. Yeah, so now it's 1928. Look, what's going on around
1928? Yeah, that's when the Great Depression's about to happen.
That's going to be fun.
That's a lot of water, man.
So now the Great Depression hits, and now little Johnny is on the side of the street playing his new fiddle for money. So while he's playing the violin, he's just constantly thinking to himself, like, this ungrateful people, how dare they not give me any money? It's all I need right now. So now later on, Leonardo decides to go to the soup kitchen, which is a popular restaurant he likes to go to, and he looks up and he notices this girl that he's never seen before that's working as a waitress. And he asks his friend, like, hey, you see that girl over there?
Yeah, her name's Sarah.
Well, okay. Then he decides that he wants to keep visiting this same restaurant because he wants to work up the courage to ask her. But every time he goes, he always has trouble. But then one day, he finally works up the courage to ask her out. He goes up to her and he says, hey, is your name Sarah?
Yeah, why?
I was wondering if I could go out with you and we could get to know each other a little bit better.
Sure, I would like that.
So flash forward just a couple years, and now little Johnny is a little bit older, and his father gets married. And then just a little bit after that, he decides to go into university, where he meets his girlfriend and decides to write a song called Fields of Green in her memory.
Is that a good song?
I mean, I didn't listen to it. I don't know.
I haven't listened to either.
So now, flash forward to 1936. Everything's going pretty good for John. He gets married to his wife Samantha. He has a child. His name's Charles. And everything's going pretty well for him. He's doing really well in his music career. But then he has a daughter named Daisy. And unfortunately, his wife dies during childbirth. And in his grief, he decides to take up alcoholism. And his daughter decides that he's not really liking his dad very much. So anyway, cut back to Daisy, and she's like, oh man, I hate having my dad be like this. He's such a drunk, such an alcoholic, and like, I'm gonna like just get out of here. I'm gonna start taking drugs, but like not cocaine or anything.
Doesn't she do cocaine?
Oh yeah, she does end up doing cocaine, but like not right now, you know? So flash forward a little bit, and now Daisy's like hating her father. She loves drugs. Her friend invites her to go to California. She's like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna dip. I'm out. I'm going to California. And meanwhile, unfortunately, Leonardo passes away of old age. So now Leonardo's sitting on his deathbed right next to his wife, Sarah. And he's kind of talking like, oh, Sarah, I'm not going to make it. I'm so sorry. What I hear about my son, John, breaks my heart. But unfortunately, it looks like this is going to be the end. I hope that you have a happy life, but goodbye. And then he dies.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
So just a little while after his daughter Daisy leaves, John really gets deep into his alcoholism and eventually dies of alcohol poisoning. And meanwhile, Daisy starts listening to her dad's music a lot more, and she decides that she actually wants to give up her life of drugs, and she actually decides to start pursuing painting. Now, this is around the time where she started painting something pretty famous called Fields of Green, named after her dad's most popular piece in the same name. In the painting, she kind of featured her mother standing in a field of flowers.
We actually have the painting right here, Fields of Green, provided by Daisy herself for the viewers to see. Shout out to Daisy. Very beautiful painting. Don't you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so next up we have Lisa. Now, she was the daughter of Charles, born in 1961. She eventually grew up to become a successful biologist whom everyone else in the family's artifacts up until then were passed on to her. So she ended up basically owning everything that the family owned before her. So next we have kind of how Lisa actually got hold of Daisy's paintings. So it kind of all happened at Charles's funeral. So Daisy and Lisa met for the first time there. And Daisy was kind of all like... So at Charles's funeral, Lisa and Daisy met up. And Lisa turned to Daisy and she asked, hey, are you my Aunt Daisy? And then Daisy turned to her and said, hey, are you my niece Lisa? And they were like, yeah, wait, I guess we're related. This is so cool. And she was like, what are you doing with that painting? It's like, oh, I'm putting it in the coffin. And she was like, oh, I recognize that painting. I've definitely seen that before, and I really like it. And she's like, oh, epical.
That's a lot of water.
You're telling me, kiddo.
God damn it. I'm older than you.
Okay.
This is a serious conversation.
Yeah, serious conversation.
Yes, family.
So, if we go back to Leonardo from the beginning of the story, he had a kid of his own with his wife, Sarah.
His name was Nick, right?
Yeah, actually.
Like
his
your name.
Was Nick. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's
oh my
real
God.
interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now, if you were to follow Nick's lineage farther into the future, you get to the 2000s, and in the year 2000, this kid Leo was born. Now, Leo eventually grew up. He was pretty isolated. He went to NYU as a computer science major. Now, you might be wondering, what happened to his parents?
What happened to his parents?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to know.
You know what? They died in a car crash.
Really?
Real sad.
That's tragic.
Yeah. Now, this kind of gave him like a pretty deep, dark depression on the inside. Now, one day, you can picture this. He was sitting at his study, just kind of coding, and he just kind of looked up and thought to himself, like, man, I'm like really, really sad. And
now, why was he sad?
Oh, because he had no friends. His parents just died. He's like, he has no family to contact. So he's like, okay, I need to tell this to my therapist, right?
Sounds like a Nick I know.
Yeah. So he goes to his therapist and he asks her, hey, so like, I never really listened to you before, but like, I'm having really dark thoughts. And she just goes to him and tells him, you know what, you should just buy like, some kind of interior decorations for your apartment, and maybe that will kind of help you focus more and maybe, you know, give you more stimulation, make you more awake. Okay. So he decides that one day after school, he goes and buys a painting from an antique store. Now he asks what the painting came from, like who was the painter, and the person replies with Danielle Ross. Now, he doesn't know who Danielle Ross is, but he is very intrigued about the painting, so he decides to hang it up in his room. So, one day, he's looking at it in his room, he's just thinking, man, I really wish I knew where this was from. So he decides to look it up online, because Wikipedia exists now.
I love Wikipedia.
Yeah, Wikipedia's pretty good.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, honestly. Damn. So he looks it up on Wikipedia, and he finds out that the painting was actually titled Fields of Green, which you may remember from earlier in the story. Now, that painter also found out that there was a pen name. Danielle Ross was not actually her name. Her real name was Daisy Musramolko.
Wow.
Which turns out that means they're related, right?
Yeah,
they have the same last name.
That makes sense.
They're from
right?
New York.
New
It
York?
must be true. So he gets
Small
a
world.
DNA test. And he finds out that indeed they are related. So he decides to hit her up.
That's appropriate.
So, with finding out that he actually does have some family around, Leo decides to actually go and meet up with Daisy. So, when they meet up, he immediately says, like, oh, so I did some research and I found out that we actually are related. I've been looking for family for the longest time, and finally I found some kind of family. And Daisy's like, yes, I know about where you came from, and I'm very happy to see you. I should let you know that I do have a niece that I am still pretty close with. I can give you her number if you want. And Leo said, yeah, that would be really nice if you gave me your number. So now Leo, excited with the prospect of him actually having family...
Because he lost his parents?
Because he lost his parents. Decides to call Lisa. So he's all like, hey, Lisa, you know, I just recently learned about this side of my family. I talked to your aunt Daisy, and she gave me your number. I was wondering, like, what's kind of going on. I want to get to know more about this side of my family. And Lisa replies, she ends up telling him that she's like, hey, there's a Christmas dinner that we're having soon. Daisy's going to be there, and you get to meet more of this side of your family. He's like, oh, thank you so much. I'm very excited to come. It's going to be great. Yeah, so after that, they decide to plan the dinner, and Leo goes to that dinner. Now, what's important to note is that throughout this entire story, every single family member we've mentioned has been keeping their own journal.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a lot. 5 journals.
Yeah, 5 different journals. So basically, just after the dinner, Leo's still staying inside the family room of the house, Lisa's house, and she actually takes him upstairs. And once they get to the upstairs, there's a long hallway, and across that hallway, along the wall, there are just a bunch of pictures.
Done by Daisy?
No. There's pictures of the family.
Oh, okay.
All time-stamped from the year that the photos were taken. So the first one, you can see Leonardo and his brother wearing Italian war uniforms from World War One.
I like Leonardo. He's cool.
Leonardo's a cool guy. The next painting, is from Leonardo and his brother's wife, just about to get on the boat.
Oh, yeah.
With the son.
That was important.
Then after is them just with the son. Then the next painting,
John.
yes, is of John and John more grown up, playing his fiddle. You also see Leonardo and his new wife Sarah. And so then those pictures kind of lead up all the way up into present day, with the exception of Leo. So the last picture is of Lisa. So Lisa gestures him upward into the attic of the house.
That's not scary at all.
Yeah, you'll get to it.
Okay.
When he gets up to the top, he notices that there's a box full of paintings, which he recognizes must be of the same work of the one that he had with him.
Which was done by Daisy, right?
Yeah, which was done by Daisy, Fields of
Genius.
Green.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So he opens the box and decides to return that painting to its rightful owner. Next up, he actually looks off to the left and he sees John's old bow from his fiddle, and it has his name engraved on it.
Oh.
So there's that connection there.
R.I.P. John.
Yeah, R.I.P. John. And then off to the right, he sees, similarly, a gramophone with a record inside titled Fields of Green, which would be
His
John's jazz piece that he wrote.
That's right. It's famous.
And finally, he finds a box full of journals, and when he looks through them, he sees all of this side of his family that he never even knew existed. All their names, Leonardo, John, but of course with the exception of Daisy and Lisa, because they're still writing in their journals. So he decides, now that he's kind of found exactly where he wants to be with his family, he decides to put his journal inside of the box to kind of complete the...
Family.
Yeah.
Wow. Very interesting.
Very, very riveting stuff.
So that is everything for today. Thank you all for watching. That was Sober History with Robert Renabato as your host and Nick Lua as my guest. And hope you all see us next time. Peace.